Welcome to Movie Rehash. Today I'm going to explain thriller movie from 2018, named Red Sparrow. Before starting the film, make sure to like and subscribe my channel for more movie recaps. At the beginning of the movie, we see our two main characters, Dominika and Nate. Dominika is listening to music, while Nate is listening to encrypted tapes. While Nate cracks the code and pulls out a gun under the table, Dominika arrives at the theater, and starts putting makeup on her face. As Dominika, the famous ballerina, begins her performance, we see Nate, a CIA agent, enter the park to meet his Russian spy codenamed Marble. As he takes something from Marble, Nate is confronted by the police, and fires a gun to create a distraction from his mole. The police chases him through the city to the US Embassy. The leader picks up Dominika and throws her in the air, but when he tries to put her down, he drops her and she lands badly. Nate drops to the floor in surrender at the same time as Dominika falls and breaks her ankle. Dominika's uncle, Ivan, deputy director of the Foreign Intelligence Service, comes to her and offers to work with him as she is not able to work in the ballet because of her leg injury. Her mother is also ill, so she needs for proper treatment of her mother. Therefore, she agrees to work with him. After this, we see Dominika getting dressed as her uncle gives task to kill the Russian gangster, Dmitry Ustinov, for information. She goes to meet him at the bar. The two go to the private room, where Dmitry starts to force her. Meanwhile, another SVR agent enters the room and kills Dmitry by strangling him with a piece of wire. After that, he rides her on his bike, and takes her to Ivan, her uncle. Her uncle, Ivan, gives her two choices: train as an agent or be killed for witnessing the murder of Dmitry. Dominika is sent to State School 4 to train as Red Sparrow. Here she meets a matron who tells her that she will shoot her in the head, if she does not serve her state. Teaching begins and the matron calls Dominika to the classroom, along with a boy named Victor, and orders all of them to undress. Victor agrees, but Dominika refuses. Meanwhile, Nate returns in Washington for his debrief, where he is suspended from foreign assignments. Nate argues that he has been with Marble for 3 years, and Marble will refuse to work with anyone else. Dominika's training continues with activities such as shooting, lock-picking, and learning how different substances can be used and traced. Nate is in a meeting with the CIA. He tells them that he has a tail, which makes him believe Marble is still alive. As the CIA have been unable to establish contact with Marble, they give Nate one final assignment: to meet Marble in Budapest and get him to communicate via one of the other agents. At State School 4, matron tells the class the purpose of a red sparrow. Every human being is a puzzle with a missing piece. A red sparrow must establish the real need of the other person and become that missing piece. The students are assigned returning soldiers and told to take care of their needs. Dominika picks a quiet boy and takes him to her room. Later, when she is showering, a fellow sparrow walks in and tries to rape her. She rips off the shower handle and beats him with it. Dominika's uncle, Ivan, is in a meeting with the senior members of the SVR including General Korchnoi, to discuss Nate. They are aware that Nate will be trying to establish contact with their mole, and they are keen to send in another agent to establish the mole's identity. Though Dominika has caused friction with the matron due to her continued refusal to obey orders, she is given the assignment in Budapest. She must get close to Nate, establish trust and find the mole. Dominika moves into an apartment alongside another agent called Marta. She is quick to establish contact with Nate, but he is quick to realize that she is a Russian agent. Dominika inspects Marta's room and discovers that she is assigned to buy classified intelligence from a senior US staff member, Stephanie Boucher. Nate has invited Dominika to dinner, but she doesn't show, instead waiting outside for him to leave. She then follows him back to his apartment and gets him to talk about the incident in the park that we witnessed at the beginning of the movie. Dominika is contacted by Ivan. She tells him that she is building trust with Nate, and has extracted information about the night in the park. When Ivan pushes her, asking why she is not working more quickly, Dominika says that she is helping Marta with her assignment. When Dominika returns to her apartment, Marta has been brutally murdered for sharing the details of her assignment, and Dominika is threatened with the same if she fails to deliver results. Dominika goes to Nate and tells him everything. He offers her a position working for the CIA and tells her that he would never treat her how her uncle does. Dominika passes a lie detector given by the CIA and takes up their first assignment to meet with Miss Boucher and swap the intelligence for fake discs to give to the Russians. She completes this task, but as she leaves the hotel she is captured by the Russians and taken home. Here she is tortured. We see her repeatedly asked if she gave Miss Boucher to the Americans. The first time she says no, she is stripped naked, locked in a room with her hands tied to the ceiling. Water pours down on her and there are blasts of intensely heavy metal music. The second time Dominika says no, she is beaten with a hammer across her legs, arms, and finally her head. The final time Dominika says that she did not give Miss Boucher to the Americans, she is threatened with a gun, but when the trigger is pulled it becomes clear it wasn't loaded. Ivan enters the room to talk to Dominika. He tells her that he can only provide so much protection for her. She responds by telling her uncle that this was all part of her strategy. She had to make the Americans believe her credibility. She needed to give Nate a reason to believe her, and now that she has been tortured, Nate will have total trust in her. Dominika asks her uncle to let her go back and prove that she can get the job done efficiently. At this point, we are left to wonder whose side she is really on. Upon Dominika's return to Budapest, she is reunited with Nate. They passionately embrace, and the care they have for each other seems to be genuine. However, in the middle of the night, Dominika awakes to find that Nate is no longer asleep next to her. She walks out into the kitchen where she sees Nate tied to a chair, an SVR agent slowly torturing him. At first we see the shock on Dominika's face, but she knows what she must do, and we soon see the distant look return to her eyes. She offers to help extract information from Nate by peeling off slices of his skin. Nate yells out in pain, but Dominika continues. As the trust builds between Dominika and the SVR agent, he lets down his guard just long enough for Dominika to attack him and free Nate. The two of them work together to bring down the Russian, but not without sustaining wounds and injuries themselves. As Dominika recovers in hospital, it looks like it is all over for her. She has blown her cover to the Russians by saving Nate's life, and she has no further cards to play. General Korchnoi comes to talk to her, a man who we have seen to be steadfast and intimidating throughout the movie. Just as all hope is lost, Korchnoi makes the shocking confession that it is he who is the mole. Korchnoi is impressed by Dominika's work and dedication and wants her to give him up in order to gain the full trust of the Russians. She can then take over his role by giving Russian intelligence to the USA. Korchnoi accepts his fate and awaits the arrival of the Russians to impose his imminent death. A team of Russians and Americans gather on the airfield to trade moles. Nate holds on to Dominika's arm and asks how she was able to give up the mole so easily. He is disappointed in her decision. We see Marble step out of the helicopter with a bag over his head. Nate continues to express his dismay by telling Dominika that the Russians will never let them take Marble alive. She says that one day he will understand what she has done, but Nate reiterates that he will not, because he is not in the habit of throwing people away. Dominika begins to move towards the Russians, Marble towards the Americans. All that is left is for Nate to confirm the mole's identity. The bag is lifted, and in a huge final twist we see that the man Dominika has named as the mole is not Korchnoi, but is in fact her uncle, Ivan. In a sequence of flashbacks we see that Dominika has worked for a long time to implicate her uncle, removing a glass from Nate's apartment and placing it in Ivan's, and opening a bank account in Ivan's name into which she got the CIA to transfer money. There is a look of resignation in Ivan's eyes, and as he passes Dominika he says, "You have killed me." Her response to him is, "Didn't I do well, uncle?" They walk past each other, but as Ivan approaches the Americans he is shot dead. The Russians grab Dominika, who is in shock, and push her into the helicopter. She is later receiving a Medal of Honor from the Russians. Korchnoi gives her a nod as everyone applauds. Dominika returns to looking after her mother. She receives a phone call. There is no voice, only the sound of the classical ballet music, which makes her smile. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe for more interesting movie recaps.